What's up, guys? We are back with another Mythic Legions review, and we're taking a look at something both new and early because I got my hands on one of the LegionsCon 2023 exclusives. We're taking a look at VORGUS VERMILLIUS version 2. So easily one of the most fan favorite figures in this line. I have no doubt in my mind that that is a true statement. He is just a cool figure that has a lot of mystery around him and has been one of those must-haves since the beginning, basically. And he definitely seemed, based on the character and just the direction things are going for the line, that he was a prime target for a version 2. So I'm really excited to take a look at this guy before the convention. So big thanks to Jeremy and the folks at LegionsCon for letting me do this. Now, he comes in sort of the current standard style packaging for single pack exclusive. So you got that slightly oversized box, you know, think Sir Gerard, things like that. So you got the figure in the window, Legion's logo and name down on the bottom. This box is of course covered in specific artwork from Nate Barch for this release. So you've got, you know, sort of this ethereal looking package that is very vampiric in its sort of nighttime setting. And then the back of the box gives you this huge shot of VORGUS 2 along with our bio for this specific iteration and what's happening with this guy and how it integrates into the overall story for this character. So yeah, let's do it. Let's pull this guy out and take a look. And here we go, out of the package, our Mythic Legions LegionsCon 2023 exclusive VORGUS VERMILLIUS 2, the blood armor in its new and changed form. So this is our day one exclusive. You can pick this guy up on site Saturday in sunny New Jersey. And I'm really excited about this one because in general, this is one of those like fan favorite, mysterious, well sought after figures from the first version, even the All-Stars version as well. But it's also quite literally a fan figure because it was created with fan involvement for that first Kickstarter. So there's a lot of history behind this guy. And I also just like the idea of VORGUS VERMILLIUS, you know, kind of fun, right? A demon-cursed suit of armor consuming the soul and body of the vampire within. What's not to love about that? So let's see what this guy can do. See how he moves around. He's still a 1.0 figure, so you may already know what's going on here. But for the uninitiated, we've got a head that can look up a little bit. He can look down some. You do have some tilt side to side, but he is in this collar and pauldrons, and I've got the pauldrons on him already because they are integral to using the cape. You've got some swivel there. The arms go out at the shoulders about that far. Kind of tight for mine. You've got swivel there. We've got our single jointed 90-ish degree swiveling elbow. You've got gauntlet swivel. You've got hinges. You've got swivel at the wrist. 1.0 figure, so that means a single torso piece. He goes backwards. He goes forward some. You do have some tilt side to side. You've got your rotation down there also. Legs are going to go all the way out, do those vampire splits. Kick forward. You're going to kick backwards some. We do have a thigh twist up there. Single jointed swiveling knee. And then you've got rotation at the top of the ankle, got a little bit of rocker, and then you've also got your hinges down there. So he is 1.0, you know, classic 1.0 Legions through and through. So if you're familiar with one, you're pretty much familiar with all, but you shouldn't really have any issue getting him into some nice dynamic poses. Now the fun part for this figure for me is always, and was always going to be, the visuals, the looks, because not only do I really like that first figure, easily one of my favorite early Legions figures, I absolutely love some of this new armor that was made for the Gorgo figure that has been incorporated into this figure. So, you know, for a little bit of backstory behind what's going on, if maybe you just, you know, don't know or didn't pay attention, this suit of armor changes as it moves from wearer to wearer. So they've incorporated the idea of giving it, you know, not just a new coat of paint, but giving it new parts to go along with the story that they're building, which I really, really like. Would I have liked to have seen just a, you know, a reissue of VORGUS again for someone? Sure, that would have been great. But for folks that already have him, this is a really good way to feel like you're getting something legitimately new in the process, despite the fact that this is still an exclusive. So this is, you know, a brand new figure in many ways. It's the V2 version of the original VORGUS, and I've got the All-Stars one, which now there's a lot of contention around these figures in terms of which one is better or which one is which, but we've got our All-Stars VORGUS here, and this figure is just like classic Legions parts. It has the quote-unquote Gorgo helmet, and then it's basically just a knight with some deep, deep reds and some light reds brushed over top. This is a custom cape, so this did not come with that figure. Keep that in mind. But it's just been a really cool idea that worked nicely with the color scheme and just the parts usage on this figure. It really made him into something a little bit more exciting than just a bloody knight. So that was always kind of cool. But this gives you an idea of what is actually different here between the two. There are some parts that are still shared. Upper arms are still the same. Upper legs are still the same. The part of the belt is the same. Well, the belt itself is the same. The loin piece is different. Pauldrons are new, and then the gorget is new. The torso is new. Helmet is new. Cape is obviously different. But for a different kind of comparison, let's pull this guy out. We've got the Gorgo 2 from the War of the Aetherblade figures, so the video game figures. And you can see, you know, just how similar these two are. They're not identical, though. There are still differences. So the new Vorgus has what I always refer to as like the Dark Knight parts. So specifically the lower, the forearms, and then the lower legs and feet are those more like heavy, really utilitarian style of armor rather than the more, you know, gaudy stuff that Gorgo has, which is what the original Vorgus has. So they did change that up a little bit also, but you can see some of those similarities. They are overwhelmingly a very, very similar type of figure and build, but just different enough in parts to make them unique. And then, of course, that color is its own beast. So this guy, I think, makes the best usage of what a V2 can be while also not straying too far from the first one. The color, I think, looks tremendous. The parts, again, I think are a really, really nice mix here. This, using that new Gorgo torso, does mean he has a removable chest plate. So you've got that functionality if you wanted to go crazy and pop and swap that out and maybe paint something up. I love these new pauldrons. I'm a big fan of them. They look evil. You know, they look like they belong on something that is a cursed suit of armor. All of this line work with like the very bright red piping in some of that filigree detail, I think really makes him pop in comparison to some of the overly dingy paint apps on the first one, because this figure seems to be much, much more uniform in some of the quote-unquote blood, which I do really like. And then the head sculpt it's the new Gorgo helmet. The Gorgo helmet, I've said 1,500 times in these videos, is my favorite Legions helmet, and I just still don't know if I prefer the old or the new, but I do really like this helmet, and it works really well with the classic Vorgus style of horns as well. So it's just a really nicely done figure that translates that first Vorgus into something thematically very similar, but also very unique at the same time. And again, it integrates that story that they're trying to have, and I really like that. And then we've got this crazy, crazy cape to talk about, and I can't stress enough how wild this is. This thing is huge. It's got this wacky design to it, so it looks like a very, I'm not saying this in a negative way, it looks like a very Spawn cape to me. It's got these like, tendrils that are coming out of it. This sort of splitting and kind of going which way, kind of can take on a life of its own if you want to wrap it around him and stuff. The wire goes through this thing all over it, so you've got seams that run all the way down. The wire does seem to be a little on the thin side, which I believe was kind of similar to the video game figures in a little bit of a way, but is still pretty posable. You can kind of bend it and shape it and make it sort of flow around. You might not be able to get it like up and over itself, like out into the wind or anything like that, because it is also a pretty big piece of fabric. So you've got the actual weight to deal with, but it's really nicely done, and it also fastens onto the figure really well. So there are actual 4 loops that will go on this. 2 of them go through the pegs in the pauldrons, and then since this is that Gorgo figure, that means he's got the little nubbins right there, the little hooks that you can hide the other 2 on within and underneath the pauldron, so it sort of looks like it's billowing out from underneath that without actually getting in the way. So this thing does look, it just looks rad. I'm really happy with it. It's a great progression from that first figure to the second figure, while keeping all of those story elements thoroughly embedded in what's going on with the design of the figure. Now, as far as accessories goes, Vorgus has a pretty solid spread, and there's going to be another release of this figure down the road without the exclusive piece. So there's one exclusive piece here. We're going to talk about everything else, and then we'll get to that. So to start with, we do get this extra head sculpt, and this is the new vampire head that we've seen a couple times now. Operative 83 on the Cosmic side, Vampire Phalanx on Mythic Legions Reinforcements 2, but this might be my favorite one yet for a couple reasons. I do really like the face and the helmet with this one in particular. I'm really happy with all of them so far, but I think it works really well here, not just because it looks cool and the color scheme works well, but because of these horns that they've decided to use with this one, and the thematic aspect of it. And I'm really hung up on the story aspect of this figure because it's cool. I like it. But it works really well to actually see a vampire in the armor this time. So maybe he's just put it on. It's starting to change. It hasn't changed the helmet or anything yet like that. But it's a cool idea. And this face also adds a nice bit of contrast to the rest of the body. So you've got this bit of white up there with the red eyes. It's a really sunken, gaunt face too. So this guy is not going to be happy when the armor starts to take its hold. So this is our latest victim. I'm really happy with that. It gives you just a way to change him up and it not just be a helmet. The horns, like usual, are swappable, so you can take them out and swap them with these if you want to do something like that. And then we've got some weaponry. We've already talked about pauldrons and the cape. That does beef up this release quite a bit. So this is one of the Advent of Decay elven axes that we got. And VORGUS had one of the axes in the first release. Pretty much tons of figures in the first Kickstarter had the same axe, so I guess they decided to do something similar but not the same, so you've got one of these. We've got this big sword that we've actually been seeing quite a bit of lately. So it's kind of dulled down a little bit, like the handle on this is kind of just a matte black. You've got a little red and then just a silver blade, but these are some of my favorite swords in the line. I really like those. And then we've got this. So typically, this is the handle for like the trident. So like think of Calavius from Advent of Decay. And then we've got this new topper right here with just a spear. And I really like this. It's very simple, but it's really nice. I'm very happy with this. I want to see more of this in particular. And that'll probably be my signature weapon to use with him. So you end up having this big monster spear that he can hold. And of course, it's got a bunch of like, red paint inside that line work in there to make it pop and just stand out. But of course, like I said, he does have an extra piece here when it comes to the exclusive version. So, let's pop this off and we've got this head sculpt here. So you get a translucent red screaming vampire head. This isn't a new head. This is the head that came in the head pack in, what was that, All-Stars 5, if I'm remembering correctly. So you've got the like the screaming vampiric head. So this is like the one where he's being consumed by the armor, or it's like empowering him, or he is transitioning to being fully locked inside this armor. So it's another story element type of piece for the blood armor. So this is the piece that you will not get if you don't get the LegionsCon version. This is only going to be included in the LegionsCon edition, which I think is a really cool piece. It's maybe not entirely necessary for everybody, but if you're like me and you love translucent stuff, yeah, this is the way to go. I'm honestly not the biggest fan of this head sculpt when it's painted up white. Something about it didn't really work for me, but I really like it like this. So I will be making full use of this head sculpt in other ways. But this guy does come with a pretty solid spread. My main focus for these is going to be the 2 head sculpts that he comes with extra and then that spear topper. But overall, nice amount of stuff, especially if you consider the pauldrons and the cape to really beef up a lot of extra pieces for this figure. So yeah, overall, I think this is a killer figure, and I'm not surprised, but I'm still really happy with the way he turned out. It's a classic Legions figure through and through, so you're going to know how he moves. He moves well enough, but it's all about the visuals. It's the way they've translated the story elements into the figure for me that really brings this guy home. We've seen the blood armor consume yet another soul. It has started on another one, and now it's powered up. It looks more empowered. It looks more evil as a result, and they're using those Gorgo parts to sort of play that up, and I think it works really well, especially with this color scheme. Those red highlights on that dark red armor really work. Some great accessories here. Love the translucent exclusive head. I like that new spear topper in particular, and I really like seeing that new vampire head sculpt again so soon. So yeah, this guy is a must-have. Even if you have the original VORGUS, there's really no reason not to get this one, and if you don't have him, you definitely need to get to LegionsCon and pick him up. So that's going to do it for this look at the Mythic Legions LegionsCon 2023 exclusive VORGUS Vermillius 2. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.